good evening. It is Thursday night. It's 8 p.m. Eastern, so that means it's the American Soccer TV Thursday Night Podcast, or ASTV, as all the cool kids call it. And it's the old gang back together again. It's Brian and it's Trevor. How are you, Brian?
Doing great.
Trevor, how are you with your early start, schmearly start?
Yeah, all these people belly aching about 7:30. I'm up at like 4:45 every day. This ain't nothing.
Yeah, I know that pain. Yeah, getting up for this game on Saturday is going to be a lie-in for me.
Yeah, well, my pub's opening, so I'm going.
Oh, there you go. A nice early game for us this week, which we will get to later. But our topics for tonight, we will be talking about Jadon Sancho being training separately, apparently, from the Manchester team. We'll discuss the whys and whereabouts of that nice, entertaining Manchester United disaster. Harry Maguire's mother having a bit of a bellyache about his treatment. We know that as Liverpool fans, if we remember Paul Konchesky. And then we'll look forward to the game at the weekend with various players out. Will Kwanzaa get a start for Liverpool, and how happy or unhappy will we be with that? And then we'll end the night with a nice threshold question. So let us start with the first thing. We have Sir Z with us. We have Alan M. Afternoon and evening, wherever you are in the world. So Jadon Sancho, it's almost popcorn time at Manchester United, isn't it? They just can't seem to get it right. Whatever they try, whether it's buying players, hiring managers, firing managers, it's just so entertaining. But Jadon Sancho, is Eric Ten Hag correct to separate him from the team, or is Jadon Sancho, has he got a point, whatever his point happens to be, or is he just a moody shite trying to get his own way? Trevor.
Yeah, and of all the horrible things that are happening at the club at the time, this seems to be the most innocuous. Where like, oh, you didn't try hard at training. Oh, yeah, I did. You're not my dad. That's the type of banter we're getting from these two. Like professionals paid at the highest level with all of this at stake, and they're just bickering at each other like they're at a U12 soccer camp, and you're like, it couldn't happen to a nicer group of people. I'm happy to just see it all unfold and have everything burned down around them. It's at least in this instance, it's fun because there's no real harm in it. There's not with some of the other Manchester United stuff, not the thing that we're going to talk about after this, which is going to be more of the same, but every other things like with the whole financial takeover situation, there's a lot of muddiness in there. All of the things with Anthony and the artist formerly known as Mason Greenwood, whatever you want to call him now at Getafe, that's a completely different, as Ray Hudson would call kettle of sharks. I'm not going to make light of any of that, but two grown adults bickering like children at a park on a Saturday afternoon. Love it.
Brian, in terms of the manager's position, is it a case that he has to be seen to do something, or could he have done all of this behind closed doors without, and maybe saying he's injured or he's unfit or something like that to save face, instead of letting it come out that Sancho is a problem in his team?
I mean, to me, right there, I believe that you have to kind of let that stuff go there and stay behind closed doors. I mean, that's the only way that you go there and handle it professionally. But honestly, I would go there and probably say Sancho's injured anyway because he's actually rubbish with a pitch. In my opinion, right there, it was handled incorrectly all the way around. But of course, that whole organization seems to be handling stuff incorrectly all the way around, including the whole Anthony situation, where they tried to have the whole hush-hush thing. I mean, and then the way they handled the Mason Greenwood issue. I mean, it's definitely a cultural issue right there that's happening at that club. but could happen to a better club in my opinion. But it's just a shame to see that kind of type of behavior right there coming from professionals, and that's really my opinion.
Trevor, it's a good point that Brian makes there in terms of the culture, but we wouldn't have seen this under Alex Ferguson, would we?
No, because the second that this would have happened, Sancho would have been gone. But now it's the days where people see a price tag and immediately it's okay. We have to kind of shoehorn this guy in, or there's kind of just this implicit need to find a way to fix it. Whereas you see teams that don't have that burden, and I hate to pat Pep on the shoulder, but look what he did, what he's doing with Guardiola right now. Like he's not 100%. He's obviously not showing what he's doing in training, so he's not playing every week. Grealish was 100 million pounds, and he's like, "No, you're shit in training. You're not playing. I don't care how much you cost." Whereas you look at the other side of town, that Anthony's out there hitting every single skill move in FIFA on the field, can't get the ball anywhere near the goal, but they're trotting him out there every week. And all of this awful crap was happening behind the scenes, that the victims keep coming and coming and coming, and you're going, how is this so wrong after it was so right there for so long? And it comes from the top.
Brian, in terms of it coming from the top, for Eric Ten Hag, he's kind of come in as with the reputation as being the better player than, or the better manager, pardon me, than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but he doesn't seem to have the authority of a Mourinho or a Van Gaal, does he?
He does it right there. I mean, it also comes back from experience right there. I mean, you're talking about a manager right there who has not gone through all the leagues as far as like a Mourinho has, or our Van Gaal, or you can go down the whole list of these managers and all that. This is a manager who's basically been in the Dutch league. I mean, which is easily a top, like top 8, the 8th league in Europe, probably maybe less. So I mean, he's not used to handling those type of players in there, because usually with the Dutch league, those players right there, when they get to a certain point, they get shipped out and sold over either to Spain or over to. It's a different way of handling these guys.
In terms of, I mean, we want to kind of stick on the Jadon Sancho thing, probably because it's the more innocent drama they have right now at that club. There was suggestions on our YouTube channel in comments from what turned out to be our most popular video clip of all time so far. But some Liverpool fans suggesting that Liverpool might want to buy Sancho. Is that a feasible thing? Is he just stuck in a bad culture and needs a miracle Klopp arm around the shoulders, or is he a wrong one, regardless of where he is, Trevor?
No, because he showed at his time at Borussia Dortmund that in the right atmosphere he can flourish. I just don't want a reclamation project. If he goes to somewhere, if he goes back to Germany, or he goes and plays 2 years in France and refines his form and wants to come back to the league, yeah, I'd give him an opportunity then. I just don't want to be the rehab facility for Jadon Sancho. I want to be the open arms relative when he comes out of the rehab facility.
For all of their drama, they had a decent season last season, Manchester United, but did they have a decent season because we had a poor one? Or did Eric Ten Hag happen upon something that he's just not able to repeat so far this year? Brian?
Oh, I definitely think that he has that he punched above his belt last year, and I think that he had some different. He's still dealing with it. I think we underrate what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was he was a kind of a poor manager, but he was a people manager, and I think that you're seeing a different culture as far as like a people manager goes. I mean, you could say like Klopp is more of of that type of person who has a little bit of ruthless streak, but he's still more of a manager for the players in the club. I think that Ten Hag right there just hasn't got things right. I mean, I think that this Holland guy that they bought right there is probably not going to be a right choice, and I think that some of these and deal with the Pogba situation. I mean, I think that they're destined right there to go there and probably finish outside of top four because I don't think they can handle the championship, the Champions League match days, and then flip back around and go there and still go there and have that same type of highs to play out on the Saturdays.
For Liverpool's perspective, a chaotic Manchester United is always a happy Liverpool, I think, regardless of where we are in the league, Trevor. We look good this year. We look maybe not the finished product, but we're managing to get what we need to get from every game in the manner that we need to get it in. Does it bode well for the rest of the season that we will have an up season while Manchester United look like they might have an entertainingly down season?
Yeah, that's always one of those silver linings. You want to see United in shambles, and we want to finally flush the unflushable turd this year. This is the year that United pull what Chelsea did last year, and they finished like 12th, and they spent $500 million, and they're in utter chaos. And let's just take all of the legal stuff out of it. I want player revolts. I want to see just constant camera shots of people pouting on the sideline as they're getting beat like 4-0 by Brentford, and like 3 center backs have goals for Brentford in that game. That's what I want. I want absolute just nonsense and shambles. That is what I crave. And of course, yes, I want Liverpool to succeed, but also I'm a piece of garbage. So if I can't get what I want, I don't want what they want either. They need to suffer just like I suffer.
Brian, I mean, it would be almost the perfect season if we challenge for the title. Let's say we even win it with like a point or something like that, or a goal difference. Manchester United finish outside of the top 5 or 6 and Everton get relegated. It would almost be all of our Christmases come at once, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely, right there. But it could. But as I said before, 17th. I just don't have faith that they're going to get relegated. I do think that that Manchester United is going to finish outside the top 4. Now, I think there's a possibility they could probably go down to 8th. I mean, I think that Brighton actually has put a better squad together, and I think there's a distinct possibility if they keep on putting Phil Jones and company in the back, they're definitely not going to finish in the top 4.
Trevor, in terms of things coming from the top, is it possible? Is it possible that the shenanigans that are going on at the boardroom are probably filtering down to the players in the sense that the whole organization now looks a bit iffy in terms of control and leadership and having a forward-thinking plan. So the players are thinking, well, we don't know what's going to happen next. And the manager seems a bit of a weak link, so let's just do what the hell we want.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people in their lives have worked in at least one organization that could be deemed a sinking ship. Like you see the rats fleeing, and this is at the point where I think United fans start to see the rats fleeing, and there's a lot of just unnecessary turmoil for an organization of United's caliber, where you're just going, where's the disconnect? Is it just between Ten Hag and this couple set of players? Is it between Ten Hag and what he's asking from the board and upper management? Or is it just every single channel of communication is just completely jumbled? And until some of that comes to light, which it probably will take at least to the end of this year, if there's just a mass exodus or if Ten Hag gets sacked, which I don't think is going to happen, but it's something that could very well happen if they finish in like double digits. We'll just see how everything plays out, and let's just hope for our psyches it plays out as horribly as humanly possible.
So let's move on. Staying sort of with Manchester United, but moving to a different area. So Harry Maguire, who in my little circles I get great entertainment out of because I have a lot of Manchester United supporting friends, and I absolutely love to tease them about the fact not that Harry Maguire ever gets a game, but that he's even on their roster. That's an amazing thing for me to see. But his mother has come out in support because he got some abuse during the England game, and he's been getting abuse pretty much for the last 2-3 seasons, maybe from the crowds. Certainly the away crowds, but almost starting to seep into the home crowds now. We had Paul Konchesky, if we remember, way back in the dark days of Roy Hodgson, going into the newspapers to complain about Liverpool's treatment of her lovely son, Paul, who, let's not forget, was an atrocious stocking of shite as a player when he played for Liverpool, and deserved some of the brickbats that went his way. But is this a symptom, along with some of the stuff with the Jaden thing and other things that happen in soccer, of mollycoddled, cosseted players who basically have been pushed to where they are by parents who just can't let go, Brian?
I think it's a whole entire culture that way. I mean, look at the Raubot right there. That's a prime example right there with his mother right there, basically forcing his way through club to club to club. I mean, it's you have a whole bunch of parents that are now dictating their spoiled brats, kind of, I guess you could say right there, is careers. I mean, look at Mbappe. Mbappe's in the same situation. I mean, with his, his mom is going there leading a lot of his finances there. So, I mean, you're basically saying, hey, I don't want to do anything. I think Pogba had some issues with his family involved with it too. I mean, it's happening right there. But but could that also be like the modern day culture footballer versus like the footballers when we were kids, that played, that just went out there and didn't have a kick about it, where these guys are a different breed.
Trevor, it's almost a reflection. You spoke earlier like things being a little bit like U12 soccer games, but it's almost that same culture brought into the big money. The world is getting a bit topsy-turvy in professional soccer, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's this is a good point that Alan makes, where I think the players too much are reading into what a drunk crowd is chanting at them, rather than what people that played the game are trying to tell him. Go, hey, yeah, you did come with this hype and this price tag, and for England, yeah, you get a lot of preferential treatment because you're kind of in that captaincy ring and you're one of Southgate's boys. Another prime example, Calvin Phillips. I saw a thing today. He's played just as many games for England as he has for Manchester City since he's left Leeds. And that blew my mind. I had to go look it up because it's just, he was there. He's been there for 2 years, and it makes no sense that those two numbers should correlate like that. Maguire's in the same boat, where it's a guy that, yes, he's had success with England and he's played very well in a very different system than what he plays for United, because it's something that's been kind of tailored to just not exploit his weaknesses. Whereas at the club level, they're going, no, where this is something that's going to benefit the entire team. If you can't fit into it, fuck you. And in the end, he's sitting there just going, why can't it? In my head, we're gonna be very meme heavy today. There's the Eric Henry clip where he shoots Hannibal Buress and he goes like, who killed Hannibal? It's like, you did it to yourself. You are the person that can't get any concepts of any manager that's been through the club since your time's been there. Every time you get minutes because of injuries, you screw it up. You're never able to step up and take accountability and just be like, this is my time to shine. Every time you get an opportunity, you fill your pants. And at this stage, you have your professional footballer having your mom stick up for you in the media. Come on, dog. Just nah. That may be your time to just like go play in Turkey or something. No offense to Muchin. We won't have him go to Fenerbahce. We'll have him go to like Trabzonspor or something. Well, but he's got to just take a sojourn out of the league.
Brian, in terms of the managers, it's always been my opinion as a player and then as a coach that you don't get players to do things they can't do. It seems like for England, at least, the managers who Harry Maguire has had will at least play to his strengths and just let him defend and let him do simple things, which he does quite well. Ten Hag seems to think he's the next coming of Carlos Alberto in the Brazil 1970 team, and the guy he has the turning circle of the Titanic when he has the ball at his feet, and it's not much better without it either. Do the managers bear some responsibility for players like Konchesky and for players like Maguire looking out of their depth by making them do things they are not capable of doing?
Absolutely. I mean, but again, like being an international manager and being a club manager are two different roles. I mean, it's a lot of times right there when you have an international manager, you're not trying to go there and recreate the wheel. You're just trying to go and actually put pieces together to go with strengths and then put them and then run with it. But with a club manager, if you're trying to go there and say, I want to go there and run a certain system, then that system right there, you try to go there and force your players. Unfortunately, right there, like I think that Maguire is like a square peg in a round hole for Manchester United's system that they want to run. I mean, if you can't go there and have him run up the pitch right there and every down, every time you get a chance to right there, and the next thing you know, he's either scored an own goal, letting goals in. I mean, at one point right there, you have to go and say, okay, what is this guy's strengths? What can he do? Okay, he's basically a sweeper. Leave him in that position right there. Have him sit back. I mean, so, and I guess Southgate does that see that right there, even though he scored against Scotland. But I mean, anyway.
Trevor, it's been a season of 4 games in the league season. I haven't made much mention of the guy, so we're going to make mention of him tonight. The fantastically tanned and betoothed Brendan Rodgers, when he went to Leicester, didn't put up much of a fight when Leicester decided to sell Maguire. I mean, they weren't in any financial dire straits, so they could probably have held on to him, but it seemed like a case of, no, don't go, Harry. Stay. Oh, you're gone? Okay, thanks very much. Because Brendan Rodgers has very stupidly high sometimes ideals for players playing technical soccer. Maguire's not capable of any of that. Alan makes a good point that he would do well at like a West Ham with somebody like David Moyes. Is it really a case for Harry Maguire that he needs to realise that he's a horses for courses player and not Beckenbauer with a Lancashire accent?
Yeah, and if you go back to that, and there's a lot of times where you see these guys that they'll fight for their guys on the way out. They know it's inevitable in a lot of instances, but they'll sit there and go, if somehow he stays with us, we're gonna back him 100%. We know this is a business. You got to hit all the cliche high notes, and Rodgers was just going, man, this would really stink if we got $70 million for a guy that is like Zoolander and he can't turn left. Right? And you're just sitting there and you're going, how did a club that has had just gigantic history of, especially in recent times, central defenders that were stalwarts, And then now they're banking their hopes on this guy that he came after the title winning season. So he wasn't a part of that. He was at Hull. And now you're like, oh, okay. What do we do with him? Well, he plays for England, so he's got to be good, right? Well, there's a lot of guys that play well internationally, and then they get back to their clubs, and you're just going, okay. Argentina played backup goalkeepers in goal for like 20 years before Emiliano Martinez came around. So that's something where there has to be that level of awareness. And I don't think that United has been able to just, and I go back to what we were talking about Sancho with the price tag. We're like, oh man, every time he's fit, we have to at least like get him on the bench and we got to try to get him in. Maguire has just been pure shit for them. But every time there's a defensive injury or a guy gets sent off and they have to reshuffle everything, they almost feel like they need to shoehorn Maguire in straight away. And that is going to mess with a weak person's head because he goes, all right, this is what I got to do. And he's got a big head. So there's a lot of weakness in there. And he just comes in and he'll either like fall down trying to make a tap. It's always something from that would be on like the lowlights reel of any player. And he seemingly does it every time he touches the grass. And you as much as it just makes me smile, you have to feel for him as a human being because you're like, this is just you just getting sent to the firing squad every day, but the firing squad refuses to shoot you in the head. And then they just like, they clip you in the toe again, and then you're back to your cell. Oh, they hit you in the pinky this time back there, and then you're just all bandaged up and fucked up. And then they finally, when they're going to sell him, he's just beat to hell. He's useless, and he's going to be like, who wants that at that point? Well, West Ham and David Moyes, but that's its own topic of conversation at that point. But it comes a point where you're not putting him in the shop window anymore. You're throwing him through the barber shop window like Shawn Michaels to Marty Jannetty, and you're making him look like a fucking dunce.
Brian, I have two I was listening to them all. I've got two questions for you before we move on to the game the weekend. The first one is it possible that Harry Maguire has to play because Manchester United have one extra large jersey and he's the only one that fits it, and they have to get it in a few times per season? And question two, is Harry Maguire's mother going to write letters of complaint to American Soccer TV that were lambasting her son all over the internet?
I think the answer to both of those is probably yes.
Well, Mrs. Maguire, if you're out there watching, we can't stand your son either. So
Mama Maguire, what's your letterhead look like? I want it professionally done.
I'm not entirely sure whether we should use the word letterhead with Harry Maguire. To be fair, it could be gigantic.
That's fair. Fair. That could be deemed abuse.
Probably. Before we go, we'll have to the game. We'll have a halftime break because Alan has a very valid question. I think we need to start the GoFundMe page so that Trevor can buy a plant for the window. I think traditions have to be kept. Also, mute buttons have to be unmuted.
I was speaking muted like a dipshit. I'm getting something framed and put there. It has been ruled that the upstairs is not plant country in my house, as every single plant that we've had, even unkillable plants, have met their untimely demise. Granted, the one that was up here before got killed by bugs, so I technically didn't kill it. Bugs did, but as Alan pointed out every week,
you didn't kill the bugs though.
No, I didn't kill the bugs. So I'm an accomplice.
You should get a picture of the last plant. That's what you should get when it was healthy. In memoriam.
If only I had that type of foresight.
So let's go on to the game the weekend. We play Wolves. We're away. They are not having a great season. They're averaging less than a point a game, although we cannot take data at face value right now. It's too early in the season for the numbers to matter too much. But they certainly aren't the Wolves of old, of the previous few years. Alan says try plastic plants, Trevor.
That's cheating.
I think that's they're also called Manchester City plants. Yes, we have the game this weekend. We have Nunes. Looks like he's out. Trent could be out. Virgil is banned for a game. Who knows what's up with Matip? And we're probably going to have to play Gomez at right back. For both of you, but we'll go with Brian first. Would we be happy with Kwanzaa in central defence playing 90 minutes plus? Has he impressed enough in the short appearance he's had so far? That's for Brian.
I think Kwanzaa, he's definitely come on leaps and bounds. He showed, for his appearances he had in the past match. Why not? It's let the kid play. I hopefully that Matip is is healthy, because if he's not healthy, then I don't know what we're gonna get. With it. Konate supposedly was back in training this morning, so he's a possibility. But I just don't know whether we have enough right there to give him a full 90 minutes right there yet. But other than that, Gomez is definitely probably going to have to go right back, because apparently Trent has not trained yet, and same thing with Thiago, who isn't trained yet either. So we have lots of injuries. So we just have to try to piecemeal. But I think that with Wolves, we have a great opportunity right there to get some points out of Wolves.
Trevor, Wolves, will just check there. Wolves have lost the games by an average margin of scoring 1, conceding 2. 2-1 would seem, before we go to the score predictions for the game, but 2-1 would almost seem like the perfect score for this game for us this season, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and that's kind of been my go-to, and my pessimistic, we're going to give up a goal and we're going to be pissed off about it, just because for everything that Alisson does to keep the ball out of the back of the net, when it does get by him, it's usually just some Benny Hill bullshit where there's like a corner that comes in and it gets pinballed around 9 times, and then it's a slow roller to shortstop that goes into the corner off the bar. It's never been like an absolute just belter or a pretty strike. Where in like past seasons, when he gets beat multiple times in the game, it's usually because it just takes 2 Herculean efforts to get past him. And I don't think Wolves have that in them. They scored 2 against Crystal Palace. They beat Everton. It's not something where and this is just waiting to come back on me like the hurricane that's coming up the East Coast. I don't think Wolves have the ability to get 2 world-class goals past Alisson, and I don't think they have the ability to get 2 dog shit goals past him either. So I think if we get to 2, we're in good shape.
Brian, in terms of the midfield, as much as we might be missing out at the back, I believe nothing has happened to Endo this week. So we would have Endo, we would have McAllister, we would have Jabo, as his new name is, and everybody else shall agree with me on that. And probably at some point we'll see Gravenberch, unless something happened to him that I don't know about. We have Elliott. We have an embarrassment of riches in midfield for a change, don't we?
Absolutely. And that's where I think that we're going to win that match with, is in the midfield. I don't think that their midfield, losing Nunez right there, was a pretty bad loss for them. And plus, also, with losing losing your strength that you had for the past couple seasons right there. I think that our midfield is definitely going to overwhelm them, which is why I think that we're actually going to swamp them up, and I don't think that they're going to score against us. I think that we're going to control that pitch in the middle.
In terms of the way, we're talking about putting, not that Gomez is a non-entity as a fullback. He certainly doesn't give us what Trent Alexander-Arnold gives as a fullback, but still, he's not the dynamic fullback that kind of our system needs. Alan makes a point here about if Reece James was available, would we bring him in? Do we need to bring in a player like that so that when we have these situations in the future from January onwards, we have a suitable and similar replacement to Trent on that side, Trevor?
First, I don't think Chelsea would sell him for that cheap, even with his constant trips to the infirmary. I think Gomez is a guy that it definitely changes the way we're going to play, because he's not going to come up and do that inverted fullback chicanery that Trent does. He's going to just sit back there. He's going to slide over and provide support. If anything, if he gets 3 crosses in or 3 balls in the air past the midfield line, that'd be good enough for me from him. I don't expect much. I just don't want it to be something where, and I'm going to say this now, I fall into the camp. Another addition to this is why we shouldn't have Joe Gomez on the team highlight reel. Because there's been so many times where he's been given, and we'll go back to Maguire. We've talked about every single time he's had a chance to step up, he fumbles it. Gomez just had a chance to step up last week, and he took it. Let's see if he can build off of it. Granted, it's going to be in a different position, in a different role, different responsibilities, but let's see if he can build on that. And if we can get like 4 or 5 decent games, whether it be starting or off the bench from Joe Gomez, that's just going to do wonders for his confidence, wonders for our depth. And I think it's only a good thing that he has to do this against Wolves, where he's not going to get super tested, because as much as people want, like, oh, iron sharpens iron, sometimes just having a nice day where you go 90 minutes and nothing bad happens to you can just be good, can be just as good.
In terms of the attack, Brian, Núñez now kind of takes one part of the discussion out of the equation. So it's likely to be Gakpo, Diaz, and Salah, which I think everybody at Liverpool, Planet Liverpool, or the Liverpool family, or the Liverpool nation, whatever collective phrase we want to use for it, would be quite happy to see. We don't have the option now of Núñez off the bench, but this is probably the game for that to be the case, isn't it?
Absolutely, but I mean, I'm kind of don't really know about Diaz right there. Having to travel from South America at the same time right there. This could be a case of Jota and Gapco and Mo up in the front versus for having Diaz coming off the bench right there, depending on when he got back to England. With Núñez right there, I think it may depend on what that muscle scan is. So, okay, yeah, he may be a good fit to come back over as on the bench. But I want to go back to what Trevor was talking about with Joe Gomez. I think that this is a pretty good time for him to actually sit back and support Kwanzaa if Kwanzaa is going to start right there, to stay back there, versus how Trent would probably be making these runs and leaving Kwanzaa back there on his own right there to actually struggle on that right hand side. So I think this is a perfect game for if we're missing that piece right there with Trent, this is a perfect game for Joe Gomez to stay on the right as a right back right there and to stay back and support that defense.
Just on the Gomez thing, Saidu here says Gomez given the opportunity for years, but he fails. He's just a lucky but
The
inexperienced
first time
player.
I've
He's
ever
20.
been blessed in my
He's
life, other than when I
he's
sneeze.
he's 26 years old. Like he's literally entering his peak years, like right now. Can we really call Joe Gomez inexperienced at this point? Has he played enough games to call himself an experienced player? Or is he the super sub, the David Fairclough of our generation, the guy who doesn't get much games, but we like having him on the team regardless because of what he does?
I think Saidu is Joe Gomez's agent, trying to get him a move to the Middle East because he was rumored for that for a little bit, and now if we get 4 games of that, that is just going to be played in Saudi Arabia and Qatar with just all the fun overlays and David Guetta songs, just really making Joe Gomez that next staple in Al Ettifaq's plans for Saudi domination.
In terms of Wolves, they obviously were a formidable presence with Spiritus Santos. I can never say his last name right. They have Gary O'Neill now. Now I'm no hater of Gary O'Neill, but I'm more indifferent to him than anything else. But it's a massive step down, and you don't really. If you're a Wolves fan, that cannot inspire confidence. But if you're a Wolves player that especially played in the good years, Brian, that really doesn't inspire confidence, does it?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, especially when half their club was with the connection to Portugal, and you don't have a Portuguese manager. I mean, so yeah, that's definitely going there. It has to go there and have you not having the morbid fuzzy feeling right there. I mean, especially when you're sitting down at that end of the table that they're on at the moment, and again, it goes back to you sold one of your best players in your club. So I mean, with Nunez, so I mean might be pretty tough.
Trevor? Do we look at this game? This season, we're a gritty team this season. We have the grit that we didn't see much of last year. But maybe we're obviously not the complete package yet. Is this one game where we could probably be a bit confident that we should come out of it unscathed, or are we still at the stage that a nasty surprise is always around the corner?
Yeah, I don't feel like last year, just from, and this is kind of with the small sample size deal. This has a team that has that old the game's never over feel. So even if we had that like banana peel, Wolves went up in like the first 45 seconds, ball bounces around, and all of a sudden you got the ball in the back of the net, and Huang is running towards the corner flag, and we're sitting there, making a full Guinness, half a Guinness real quickly, trying to figure out what happened. I don't think this is a team that hangs its head anymore. It's a team that knows that they are better than probably 18, if not 19 of the teams in this division, and knows that they can impose their will at this point. And I think that confidence is very valuable. And I really think against Wolves, especially their team that they have a couple of not necessarily guys that will match us with the grit, but could start fights. Let's just say that. And with the way we've been getting reds, that's the only thing that worries me about this game is they have a bunch of shit stirrers, and we get embroiled in one of those things early, and then granted, yeah, playing with 10 men, the meme, we play better with 10. No, I don't want that against Wolves. I wanted just a nice early morning game where things go smoothly. If it ends up being squeaky bum time and we have to worry about the goals at the end, I just don't want to have to worry about that down to 10 men or Klopp getting sent to the stands because he had to go fight Jose Sa or something. I just don't want any of that.
Brian, 2 questions, and then we'll go to Trevor with the same 2 questions. Number 1, what is your score prediction for the game? And number 2, if we are to get a red card, who's the most likely candidate?
Okay, my score prediction on this is a 3-0 win. And if the player more likely to get a red card, McAllister. I think McAllister's like, gets that little bit of a hot-headedness right there. Maybe that little bit of a Scottish descent that came from way back when. They get a little bit heated right there.
Trevor, your score prediction and your red card prediction.
3-1, and the goal we give up is going to piss us off. Kwanzaa makes his debut.
That makes his debut get sent off. My
Joe Cole style.
My score prediction is I'll go 4-0, and I will go with Allison as the red card, and then Kelleher comes on and plays the game of his life because he's stuck with Stephen Kenny as his Ireland manager, and he wants to do something impressive. So before we go, and the fantasy show will be on after us, but before we go, the threshold question for this week was, we'll go with Brian first, and then we'll go for Trevor. The question is a simple one. What would you rather have? Would you rather have Harry Maguire's technical skills or Phil Jones' face?
Wow. So that's a tough one right there. Definitely have to be Harry Maguire's technical. I think I had Harry Maguire's technical skills anyway, so I think we're good. So I'll pick Maguire's technical skills.
Trevor.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the same because I'm not a particularly a quaff human being, but I don't want to look as if I'm constantly being chased by wolves or crying, or there's those t-shirts that have like the range of emotions of people. Phil Jones's, all of his facial expressions are sheer terror. No matter if it's like a moment where he's getting handed a trophy or a medal, he's just like, and no, I will take tripping over my own feet, because I do that enough with my own doofy ass. I will take Maguire's 2 cobbled left feet over looking like the Scream painting gone wrong in human form.
I would take Phil Jones's face simply because I'm married, so I'm locked in, so I never have to worry about that nonsense anymore. And I know the password.
I don't want that for anybody else.
I know all the Wi-Fi and the Roku password, so my wife is not getting rid of me anytime soon. So I think I'm pretty locked in for that. So it just remains to say for the end of the night, thank you for joining us. For everybody, thank you for commenting. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow on the Facebook, on the X, Twitter, whatever it's called now, and on Instagram and YouTube. The Fantasy Football Show will be up next with the Polish Prince. We'll have a pre-game and a post-game this weekend, and a morning coffee in the morning tomorrow, wherever time zone you're in. And yes, make sure you're on a Discord channel, and make sure you're following us, because you won't know when the craziness will happen if you're not in the loop. So just remains to say thank you, Brian, for being along tonight. And thank you, Trevor,
and his
non-existent plant. We will see everybody next week.
I will get an adequate replacement. I promise.
Not even a good
space will be filled.
An adequate one.
Succulent.
A succulent. Or not mums. Not mums. You won't be getting mums, because they might write letters of complaint. So enjoy the game of the weekend, folks. We will see you next week. Peace out.